Hey everyone, I have a very special guest here. He is one of our best PPC clients, Lawton. Welcome to the call today. Thank you for coming on.
Of course, Jim. Thanks for having me, man.
So, this is a case study. We haven't done one of these in a minute. We're trying to do a bunch more of them because we have a lot of them, and Lawton graciously agreed to spend some time with us here. Lawton's been a client of ours since the campaign started in June 2021. So it's been over 3 years, like 3.25 years. And he's been with us ever since. It hasn't been a smooth journey the entire time, but I want
Sure.
to bring him on here today to get the real about what it's like working with a PPC agency, what it's like working with us specifically, and kind of what to expect from using Google Ads, and also maybe some tips on how to work with an agency. So Lawton, thank you for coming on here today, man.
Of course. Yeah, Tim. Thanks
Cool.
for having me, man.
Okay, so can you just tell us a little bit about your business, the size of it, kind of the numbers you're doing, what marketing you're doing, team size, all that kind of stuff?
Sure. So we're in Wichita, Kansas. We're right in the breadbasket, heart of America here, and we've always operated, really since day one, on a team model. I've always had two sales guys. Some guys call them their acquisition guys, but my sales guys do acquisition and disposition both. So they are responsible for each deal, cradle to grave. It's their deal, start to finish. Uh, and we've had good success with that, dynamic there. We'll I don't, I think, we do about 150, 160 deals a year, uh, on the assignment side, just here locally in Wichita. Uh, we've tested other markets and have expanded into them, but we didn't do them the right way. They kind of crashed and burned. The we'll get back into that as we've kind of further refined things, and I'm sure that's in our future. But for right now, it's refining everything at home base to see how good, how much juice we can squeeze out of this orange here at home.
I mean, you're doing 150, 160 deals a year. And how big is Wichita? Is that like half a million people
Uh,
or something?
500,000.
Yeah, not a huge market. That's a lot of deals.
Really not. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're definitely the biggest player in our market as regards to the wholesale side of things. If you want off market discounted real estate, you get it from us in Wichita.
Gotcha, gotcha. And are you wholesaling everything?
Right now, yeah, I went through a season of buying a lot for myself, rentals and fix and flips and stuff like that. We're working on renovating those, and I don't have the capacity to take on anymore. So I'm not even I'm not even looking at the deals that we have. We're wholesaling everything.
Gotcha, gotcha. And I wish I could say all 100 plus deals are from PPC. Obviously, they're not. It is a pretty
Mhm.
small market, but can you just go like really briefly? What other marketing channels are you doing to get all these
Sure.
deals?
We're heavy into direct mail and PPC, and those are our only two marketing channels. We
That's
don't do
cool.
TV or radio or billboards or any of that stuff. We experiment and we dabble. I like to earmark probably 20% of our ad budget. So the 80% that stays in the bread and butter that stays in PPC and direct mail, and I watch those metrics like a hawk, and I'll set up a call if I think something is calling off that I'm seeing and I'm watching. But we'll always leave 15 to 20% for experimental things. That's how we got into PPC. I mean, it was an experiment outside of direct mail, and we got into it and we liked it. And we've, kind of steadily increased that ad budget till we hit that, diminishing return point. And then we, bring it back down to, just the most optimized ad spend we can find. And we've
Right,
had,
right.
we've had good success, with you guys. We've had great success with direct mail. I would say it's probably a 70-30 split. 30% of our deals, I think it's 28.6 or something like that. But let's round up because it's your phone call. So let's say it's 30%.
Yeah.
Come from PPC, and 68% will come from direct mail. And then we've got some past clients and referrals in there as well. But by and large, it's direct mail and PPC.
Gotcha. So if you don't mind, I want to share a couple stats here. I got your campaign pulled up.
Sure.
Um, Lawton's obviously doing a lot of deals, but relatively, he's not really spending that much money on ads. Like I said,
Yeah.
Wichita's a fairly small market, and one of the challenging things with PPC is like scaling. And oftentimes, if you want to scale, you do have to enter new markets, which Lawton touched on, and we can dive into that. We tried it, and there were some obstacles there. I'm happy to talk about it, but um, basically, let me just pull up here the last 6 months. Spent about 13 grand. So
Mhm.
that's like little over $2,000 a month in ad
Yeah.
spends,
Yeah. It's
right?
really not much.
It's not much. So a lot
The
of people think, yeah, go ahead.
no, you go ahead because I think we're going to say the same thing. So you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that a lot of people think, and a lot of other agencies, I think, advertise and maybe work with only investors who do spend 10 or $20,000 a month, and we
Mhm.
work with some of those people too. But I mean, the majority of our clients, and Lawton's a great example of that, it's only spending $2,000 a month. It isn't inaccessible and only reserved for these conglomerate franchises. It's really not the
Right.
case at all, and Lawton has a great
And
return.
and I think that's a really good point. People talk to me about well, how expensive can ads be? And it's like if your ad sucks, it's going to be really expensive. Like, well, we tried direct mail and it didn't work. Well, you probably tried the templated yellow cards that the mail house gave you for signing up, and you sent a few thousand of them out, and it didn't work. And but if you like your ad can be really expensive, whether it's digital or print or billboard or radio or whatever. Advertising and marketing can be super expensive, and it will be super expensive if your ad sucks. If it's not
Right.
the right message, if it's not in front of the right people, your ad will your and your ad sucks. It will be super expensive. If your message is clear and your creative and your copy is good and catchy, and it pops off the page or off the billboard or off the screen or in your ears if you're listening to radio, then and you can target the people that you need to target on that, it like you will see your marketing dollars be well spent. So my advice to anybody would be to be a good steward of those of your marketing dollars. And if you're not a creative person, if you're not a marketing person, that's fine. Get on Fiverr, get on Upwork. It's worth either your time invested in creating your own direct mail campaigns or your own, pictures and copy and creative. If you're turning something over to a digital agency, like you should be providing the pictures for the website that they're building. Like we've been really involved in the creative and the copy with you guys, with our direct mail, with some other experimental stuff we've done. We're super involved in the copy and creative because you've got to understand whether you're in a market like mine, it's not that big, or you're in a huge market. Everybody is shooting for the same fish in the same barrel here.
Yep.
It's a subset of 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 the population. Like they have to own a home. It's okay. Now it's a home that they own that they don't live in. It's a home that they own that they don't live in, that they've owned for a certain amount of time and have enough equity. And like you just continue to niche down your parameters. You've got 20 people all trying to buy every single one of those houses. You've got to find a way to stand out. So you've got to be a good steward of your marketing dollars and take control of that copy and that creative, or outsource it to someone that's really, really good at that. Whether it's an agency like you guys, or, someone on Upwork that, just is going to design your postcards so that they're something different than the stack of yellow third notice we've been trying to reach you about your house letters. Those go in the graveyard. You've got half a second while they're going through their mail to be like, oh, another yellow
Exactly.
letter gone. Or something that pops off the page and stands out. You got to take control of that and internalize the creative and the copy as best you can.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point that I think one reason why you're getting a great return, and basically your return. So you're not. I mean, again, you're only spending 2 grand a month. You're not getting that many leads in. You're spending a couple $100 a lead. Call it like a
Mhm.
dozen leads a month, but you're converting. I think last time I checked, we talked to you like a month ago. It was like one in 4 or something. I think was it 1
Mhm.
in 9? Maybe that's
No,
what it was.
it's
It was
I
like, yeah, 1
our
in 4. I think it
yeah.
was.
I was just looking at it before the call, and on our PPC leads, we're close, like from net lead to closing, it's like 27%. So
Yeah.
a little better than 1 in 4. And our average assignment fee off of our PPC leads is like 13,000 and some change. So for every $600, well, $800 we spend, we're generating $13,000 assignment. It's like, what are we doing here? This
I
is
know.
this is great. The trouble is that there's a point of diminishing returns, and but that's with any marketing method. That's not to a poo poo on PPC. We've spent as
Right.
much as we've spent exorbitant amount of money on ads in the past, chasing that revenue of just,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, we increased our ad spend 30%, but our revenue also only jumped 30%. So it's,
Mhm.
yeah, we did 30% more deals, but we made the same profit. And
Exactly.
that doesn't work. And that's the challenge that I think a lot of business owners in general, but specifically wholesalers face, as they start to taste some success, and they get their business up and going and running, and they're thinking about what do we do next. Let's just throw more fuel at the fire. Some people will throw money at it, or throw people at it, or they'll hire an agency, or they'll outsource it, or hire a sales manager or an ISA to do dialing, whatever it is. You've got to watch your cost per deal and your cost per lead, because if those are increasing in lockstep with your ad spend, don't take on the additional risk of ad spend for the same level of return. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't, that's one thing I think we're really good at is knowing what that limit is. And like, hey,
Yeah,
look,
a
if you
hundred
told
percent.
me, hey Tim, I want to spend 10 grand a month, let's 5x our revenue. Yeah, no brainer. Like, okay, if you can turn $1 into 10, let's spend infinite amount of money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, right? And we're honest about it, and we try to find where that ceiling is, and it adjusts. But I think the people that are listening to this call are other investors like yourself. Maybe they're a little bigger, probably not. They're probably smaller, but they know how to do deals. They're not beginners,
Right.
and they hear things about PPC. PPC is great, or PPC sucks, or it's too expensive, and there's all these different agencies out there. Maybe they should learn it themselves. Can you touch on why you chose to work with us versus other agencies, or maybe doing it yourself? How did you come to that conclusion? Back, I know it was a while
No,
ago.
well, no, and I remember it like it was yesterday, because I have told this story so often, and you touched on it, in the beginning of the call of, you know, I had done some research, I've been looking around, and I had narrowed it down to probably 3 people that I had Zoom calls with, and you guys were the only ones that didn't have a 10 or even a $5,000 minimum. And I was like, look, guys, like, this is new. This is outside of our wheelhouse. We're kind of just getting started here. And I'm also not a believer that you have to spend that much money to get results. Like, I understand marketing. I understand, like, really it comes down to ROAS. Like, that's the easiest, quickest, dirtiest way to say, is this working or is it not? Now there's underlying metrics that can contribute to that, but it all funnels down to return on ad spend. And I wasn't a believer that I had to go with one of these big name, companies where, they've got minimum, because we only take on guys that are, serious about their business. And I'm like, motherfucker, I'm serious about my business. We do more deals than those guys do, and we don't have to spend as much friggin' money.
Right.
So for me, getting on the phone call with you and subsequently with Tyler, it was really more of a boutique experience. I wasn't just another Zoom call, on, oh yeah, hey, I just got off this one. You guys were on time. You were prompt. You answered all my questions. And most importantly, you didn't have a minimum. You guys understand that ads don't have to be that expensive. Like, you don't have to spend 5, 10, 20, $30,000 a month to do deals.
You don't. Yeah,
You,
100%.
yeah.
You just don't. Can you talk a little bit about the customer experience? I think, doing research, we get a lot of leads that come to us that maybe tried other agencies and
Yeah.
we're told one thing, or they watched a marketing video or saw an ad, and then their experiences was something different. And we're not perfect. We're not perfect, and we are improving our customer service. But I would love to know kind of your experience, maybe, and you could touch on anything. I just want your honest
Yeah.
experience of kind of our customer experience, what you like, maybe what you don't like, anything that you can think of on that end.
You know, honestly, I can't think of anything that I don't like. Uh, you know, and that's not to, brush your ego or anything, just because we're on
I'll
a
take
call
it.
here.
I'll take
I,
it.
I, everything I ask for, I get. Like, I talk about being a good steward of your marketing dollars and watching your metrics. I can't do that without getting a report from you guys anytime I want. And within 48 hours, I have a full-fledged report, access to a spreadsheet with detailed notes. Like, I've got everything that I need to continue to make decisions, like increasing ad spend. Do we need to, do we need to target different keywords, stuff like that. Working with an agency, like you guys, is no different than working with an accountant or working with a bank or working with any service provider of any kind, your car insurance agent. You have to drive that change. And that's not a knock on you guys. You guys don't know the inner workings and the ins and outs of my business as well as I do. And and you couldn't
Yeah.
possibly for any of your clients.
Right.
Google ads better than I do, for sure. But I know my business better than you do. And every single one of your clients, and any investor or operator listening to this is no different. No one knows your business better than you, and no one is going to care about your business more than you will. So for me, I look at those metrics and the keywords and all of that data month in and month out, because I know that I need to be the one to go to you guys and say, hey, I was looking at this and this and this, and I think, it's these 5 keywords are doing super well. They're making up 90% of our leads. These bottom 2, they're not shit. We need to change these out. Or we need to do, some kind of retargeting or modification of it, whatever it is. It's no different than going to your accountant being like, hey, I want to make sure we're doing this and this and this, because no one's going to care about your tax return, or no one's going to care about your car insurance policy or your roof or your windows or no one's going to care about anything as much as you do that's yours. Like that, I mean, that's just a simple fact. So I think with you guys having access to that information at the drop of a hat, so to speak, at the sending of an email, I get, access to all the information I need to continue to make informed decisions, and not just, well, we did more deals last month, I guess we should spend more money. It's like, well, did you make more money on those deals?
Right.
Like, did your cost per click and impression and lead and contract, did they all go up in lockstep with your ad spend? Because they shouldn't. You shouldn't
Right.
do that. So having access to all that information so you can stay on top of it, I think is the praises I can't sing enough of with you guys, is how easy you make it to access it so that I can continue to make informed decisions. Like, a lot of guys would hide that, it's proprietary, or, that's not a client facing medium. And I'm like, give me the spreadsheet. These are my leads. They're my leads. I paid for them. Give me the information.
Yeah, exactly. Because I run a wholesaling business too, and I know
Mhm.
how to give information in a digestible way where you can make decisions, because I've had to do it in my own
Right.
business.
Right.
But we do get clients. So you've been with us a long time,
Yeah.
and not every one of our clients, spoiler, has been with us for 3 years. I wish that was the case. We do get clients that don't work out. That don't work out after a few months. We
Mhm.
are trying our darnest to minimize that and prevent it from happening, but it does happen.
Mhm.
What would your guess be as to why maybe PPC doesn't work out, even with our specific clients and our agency, why people would fail where you didn't?
The same reason that that any proven marketing method doesn't, and you don't have a sales process in place. And that's what it comes down to. Like, there's guys in my market, that want to ask me, they want to, do some mailing, or, they want to get started, and this and that. Totally cool. I'm an open book. And I advise every single one of them, don't spend $1 on marketing if you don't have a sales process and a repeatable cadence for every single lead. Needs to get worked the same way through the same funnel every single time. You're wasting your money. Don't spend $1 if you don't have that. Because if you can't tell me how many touches a new lead gets in how many days before they fall off, and then what? Do you just put them in the ether? You shouldn't. You already spent a couple $100 generating that lead. You need to have a drip campaign. Like, you need to have some way of staying in touch with them after the fact. So it doesn't have to be, and I tell people all the time when they're getting started, you don't have to go get HubSpot or Monday or any kind of CRM anywhere. Get an Excel sheet or a fucking legal pad and just make tally marks next to how many calls Tim on 123 Banana Street got in how many days, and did it work? Like, if you don't have some kind of scalable, repeatable process on every single lead, as soon as they land, they go through this funnel, and out of the bottom is a contract. Somewhere in that funnel, they may fall off. Keep track of that. If you don't have that, even the foundation and rudimentary version of it built out, don't spend $1 generating leads, because it's not going to work. You may get a deal out of it, but it's going to be a small one, and it's not going to be enough to cover the 3 months of ad spend. So that's got to be the largest contributor. It's the Glenn Ross thing. The leads don't suck, you suck.
ABC.
Right. That, like, the leads don't suck, you suck. Hit the bricks, pal. It's the same thing. Because if someone came into Wichita and hired you, and I did at the same time, and we ran the same ads, the same keywords, the same budget, and they didn't have a sales process, and I did, I guarantee I am wiping the floor with you. We can go on the same appointment and we'll get that deal, because we've got a process. We've got to leave behind. We've got something followed on every appointment. All the leads get worked the same way until they fall off into the drip campaign.
Right. And so, we actually we've hired every single one of your competitors as well. And no,
I believe it.
I'm just kidding. No.
Good. Bring it on. A lot of guys can watch Bruce Lee movies. It doesn't mean they can do karate.
I love that. But I mean, you're closing 1 in 4. That's some of our best. Can you, of any clients in any market across the country, as concisely as you can you break down what that sales process looks like? Is it the same for PPC as direct mail? Just
yes.
What is a good, like, check mark to know, hey, this is a good enough sales process to do PPC?
8 touches in the first 6 days.
Okay.
Sales statistics would tell you that after the 8th follow-up, the chances of a deal drops by like 84%. So the chances of something happening on call number 9 are close to 0. Stop. Call them 8 times, 6 days, and it's heavier on the front. It's 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 off to the drip campaign.
Simple.
We've never had a PPC, and sorry, I want to not move on from that. That's it. There's no magic, nothing. Touch them 8 times in 6 days. That's it.
I would add to that as well. You've mentioned this to me before. The speed to lead. That
sure, yeah.
If a lead comes in right away, you should get a hold of them. You should try at least twice in that day, but don't wait 5 hours to call them the first time.
Our speed to lead is limited to 5 minutes.
There you
in
go.
our with PPC leads, the direct mail leads, those ring in live and they go round robin to our sales
Sure.
guys and they answer that call live as it comes in. With the PPC lead that does a form fill online that lands in our CRM, the those are round robin as well between our two sales guys. If if sales guy number one gets assigned the lead and he doesn't do some kind of action item, change the status, make a note that he called, that he texted, whatever it is, in those first 5 minutes, it assigns the lead to the other sales guy.
Gotcha.
So it's like in those first 5 minutes, you better get on it, or
shark mode.
The other guy that's here that you're competing with may have just had a $20,000 assignment. You weren't watching. Now that only happens during business hours. If the lead, because we've had leads register at all hours of the day. We've had them at 3 a.m. It doesn't move. I don't anticipate my sales guys call them at 3 a.m. Within 5 minutes. So
of course, yeah.
From 8 to 5.
Okay.
5 minutes.
Got it. So what do you do with the after hours ones or weekends? Just wait till Monday morning, or
weekends? They get called very quickly. Oftentimes inside that 5 minutes, because at this point, I mean, for them, it's it's a habit now.
Sure.
Like regardless of the day it is, they have their phone, and our CRM has an app on their phone that they get a little 123 Banana Street just been assigned to you. You better fucking call them. And they get on it and they do a great job.
Got it.
So speed to lead is the most important, because as anyone will tell you that has spent any kind of money on digital marketing, if they're on your website signing up, they're probably on 3 or 4 others also signing up. Most people are going to want to field as many offers as they can to get the most money. Sometimes you get one that you call them while they're still lurking around your website, and you go on the appointment. You're like, cool, I'm on the way, meet you there. And then they just don't have the time to, to go online to some other ones. But that's the exception, not the rule. The rule being get after them quick, because oftentimes it's the first person they meet with is going to be who they sell the house to.
100%. So when you signed up for PPC, was there any misconceptions you had or expectations you had about either PPC in general or working with an agency or working with us specifically that didn't end up being true, or that your experience, now that you've been with us so long, has been different than what you originally expected?
I had my suspicions, which is, I mean, like I said, getting started with you guys was, was a part of our experimental ad budget. Like, dude, I think our initial monthly was like $500. Mm-hmm. Like we weren't spending anything, because I wanted to see, like I wanted, some proof of concept before I just threw money at a problem. A lot of guys think marketing is just swiping a credit card and then you'll make money on your deals. And it's like, no, you have to work at it. Like,
right.
If anybody finds a magic bullet that you can just throw money at with no other work, no other input, and leads just come to you at a predictable, scalable pace, you're a better operator than I am. But I knew that it was going to take my attention. It was going to take my detail to see in that first 3 or 4 months how it was going to pan out. And I knew, or I had my suspicions based on my experience with other marketing methods, that you didn't have to spend $5,000 and $10,000 and $20,000 a month to get deals. That you could get deals at the same or similar cost per lead that we're getting with direct mail, and we are.
Gotcha. Were there any challenges you had working with us? One I don't know how much you want to get into it, but you mentioned expanding. You're in Wichita. We tried doing Kansas City, which is nearby,
and Tulsa.
Right? Yeah, that's true. And we're not doing them anymore. So obviously something didn't go right.
You chase 2 rabbits, you lose both.
What do you think happened there? So basically, we were running the
I was chasing
campaign.
two rabbits. It was
Yeah.
I I I underestimated the amount of work that it would take to uh, build out a sales team, or just the necessity of building out a sales team, boots on the ground in those markets. Like I underestimated, I think, how insulated uh, we are here in Wichita. Not that we're
Yeah.
invincible, not that we can't be, topped. That there's always something lurking, but it having boots on the ground to go to the house right now when a lead is ready for you to come to the house right now. I underestimated that. And I underestimated how hard it would be for my sales guys in Wichita to learn and navigate two expansion markets and continue to run, the honey hole Wichita.
Right.
Uh, there's just so many nuances in a market that you don't know and don't live in and don't have any experience in. Of, well, yeah, that's a $50,000 house on this side of the street. On this side of the street, it's a $10,000 house because it's the worst area in the state. So those challenges and nuances of just not knowing different areas and just not knowing the market at all. We tried to do it all virtually, and there are guys out there that do it, and they do it super well. Uh, I think it, I think it was premature for us for sure. I mean, we did that after only about a year of wholesaling. We were like, sweet, let's do an
Right.
expansion market. Like we did it all really early and prematurely, and it was too fast. And we spent a ton of money, and it all was gone.
You think it was a sales problem, really?
It was a
Yeah.
sales problem for sure. We didn't have a sales process
Right.
lined up, and we spent marketing dollars anyway. So like I give
Right.
people advice on stuff. It's not because I don't want you to be my competition. I've done it and I've lost money on it. This right here up on my wall, you and I, Tim, we were talking about all this stuff before the call. Right here is a check in a picture frame. This is the one deal we did from our expansion efforts in 9 months. From all the ad spend, all the efforts, 9 months, that is one check for $1,064.81.
Oh man. So
The
what do you have it
only
framed up there?
to remind me that I don't have the Midas touch. I'm not invincible, and how humbling of an experience it can be to chase two rabbits and lose them both.
I think that's really the core of the clients that we want to work with. Ultimately, it's
Yeah.
the mindset you have to have, and and we try our best. God help us. We try our best when we talk to clients, whether leads, when they're thinking about signing up with us, or on the onboarding, or when we talk to clients every single month. It's the clients that don't just throw all the responsibility on the agency. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
cop out and say we're not responsible. We obviously are, but like we're not in control of your business, and
Right.
we're not doing the sales. If we were, then we would just build a nationwide wholesaling company. We don't want to do
Right.
that.
Right.
And it's the clients with your mindset of taking ownership and acting as our partner. That you're the sales guy, we're the marketing
Mhm.
guy, and we're working together. It's not 100% on us, and it's not 100% on you either. But it's that proactiveness, that accountability
Yeah.
is parallel across all of our clients who's been with us for a long time are having great results. So I love that. I love that you have that check up there. It makes me a little sad, but
I
you gonna
see
go
it.
back into there? You gonna
Yeah, we will. I think so much of it, candidly, we need to lead into a new market with PPC. Like we need to start with that because it's a lower quantity, higher quality of lead.
yeah, less overhead, less operational complexity,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So
And
and yeah,
we we hit we hit the expansion markets with both. Like
right.
we started dropping direct mail and PPC at the same time. And we were getting a super high quantity of leads on the direct mail side. And when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And
Right.
that's what it was, is my sales guys were getting so bogged down of, well, maybe this is a deal. We don't know, the area where, a house in Wichita, someone calls in and says, I want $150,000 for it. Well, we just bought the one across the street last month for $45,000.
Right.
We're sending that guy, on the drip campaign, and maybe he'll
Yeah.
come back around, next year or the year after or the year after. But, I think so much about a good sales process is about disqualifying more than it is qualifying. You
Right.
need to
Quickly.
get,
Yeah.
yeah, you need to get the distractions off your lead board as fast as you possibly can, and only keep the real opportunities on there. Because when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that was the real issue. It was a sales process issue when it came to our expansion markets. We thought everything was an opportunity. Like, oh my God, all these leads are coming in. And it's like, no, all these leads are getting passed up on by every wholesaler that lives there and has talked to them already, because this person is out of their mind and wants
Right.
5 times retail for this house. They would sell, they're not a seller. Huge
Right.
difference.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it wasn't an issue of generating leads. We had plenty of those. It was an issue of discerning between sellers and wood sells. And my guys and I had to jump in to lighten the load. We got so bogged down with evaluating every single one that we probably missed out on deals because we were too
Right.
busy evaluating the ones that weren't.
Right. Right. Yeah. Saturate your own market first. It sounds like what you're doing, and then
Yeah.
maybe step into new markets. And I agree with that. And we try to coach clients through that as best we can. But sometimes if they want to try it, we'll do
Right.
it. We'll say, hey, look,
We will run your ads for you. That's what you
we'll
do.
run your ads. There's a risk, we'll try it, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but we'll try it.
Yeah.
So last couple questions here. We'll wrap it up. I appreciate your time.
Sure, man.
Kind of the stereotypical, case study question of, if somebody's thinking about signing up for an agency, but I'm looking for like an honest answer. I'm not trying to set you up to give me a layup here. An honest answer, like someone like you, like these are not beginners. These guys know what they're doing. Maybe they've been burned in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't. They're obviously doing success. They have some type of bread and butter, whether it's cold calling or direct mail. It's usually one of those two or both.
Yeah.
They want to do PPC. They don't know who to hire.
Mhm.
They're not sure what to do. Like, how honestly can they make a decision? Like, what should they be looking for? What questions should they ask? Things like that.
They should be looking for videos like this, where the owner of the company pulls back the curtain, gets a client, and says, be as real as you can with these answers. I want people that are on the fence or searching online, I want them to see videos like this of, not this, polished and, post produced, success story. It's a case study. We've had our rocky patches. The out of market expansion was a huge L. I don't blame you guys for that. The leads were there. We didn't have our shit together to work the leads. So if you're researching online, don't listen to any of them that say, well, yeah, we only work with guys that are serious about their business. So, you have to, you got to, spend at least $10,000. They say that because their monthly management fee on your ads is a percentage of your ad spend, and they want you to spend more so they make more. They don't have your interest aligned. Find an agency that their management fee is not contingent as a percentage of your ad spend. It's a fee for their services, and find someone like Tim's company with wholesaling PPC that pulls back the curtain and gives you access to everything, that you can see the whole dashboard. They're not hiding anything. They're not taking anything away. They're not like, oh, that's an internal metric. It's like, well, it's not. I can do the math and figure out what that number is, or you can just fucking give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
That
Right.
I would look for those two key things. I would look for videos and stories and discussions and case studies like this, and I would get away from anybody that is going to tell you that you're only a serious investor if you start out with $15,000 a month in ad spend. Get out of here. You don't need to spend that much money to do a high number of deals. I'm an example.
100%. I appreciate that. Let's say, I'm going to push you a little bit on this, that they found us and they found a couple other companies who have kind of, I think we're the best at this. I don't think a lot of people are as transparent as we are, but let's say they found other, agency XYZ, also a similar type of case study like this. They're all over the internet. Everyone's posting case studies every day.
Mhm.
What else should they look for? Let's say that one's already checked with multiple people. Is there anything else you can think of?
Man, I really can't. If you need to cut this part of the video, feel free.
No, it's fine.
I
It's
really
fine.
don't like those
Yeah.
are those really are the two reasons that um I really can't think of anything else. Those are the two reasons, or I guess the two criteria that I would give anybody looking online. Uh, you know, everybody's doing a case study and everybody's posting their videos. I would really dig into the substance of those videos. And I would, really listen in to the the level of sincerity and sophistication of the operator. And like, I don't mean sophistication in like they use big fancy words and they have an MBA on their wall behind them instead of $1,000 check from a failed fucking market expansion. I would listen to how, in fact, just the opposite, how plainly they talk about what's working and why it's working. Like the guys that are going to sit here and tell you that, well, the sales process that you need is you need to go to a Grant Cardone event in Scottsdale, Arizona for $15,000, and you need to learn about this and this and this. No, what you need to do is call every lead 8 times in 6 days. Right. There it is. That's it. There's a lot of guys out there, both operator side and on the agency side, that are out here trying to overcomplicate shit to sell you a course or, to get you into their ecosystem of, they have a PPC agency that really is just funneling people onto an email list for their education arm or their Facebook ad course for $9.97. Like you guys have never tried to upsell me or change the game on me. I give you money. You give me fucking leads. We convert the leads and make money. We spend more money with you. That's it. Find someone that you can do that with, and you will have a great partnership with your agency or your ad provider, whoever. Find someone that you can give money to that will give you leads that you can close.
I appreciate that. And I'm not gonna, you'll know this is legit. I'm not cutting anything out. That's an honest answer. I love that. Digging a little deeper there. Is there anything else that you want to say to anyone who's on the fence or anything like that before we end the call here?
About getting into PPC?
Anything you want about anything. I don't care.
We don't have that much time.
Probably not.
For the sake of this phone call and, for all intents and purposes, if you're on the fence about getting into PPC, it can be, and it is like it can be like anything else, a very lucrative, very high ROAS form of marketing. The lead quantity isn't always high, but that's because the lead quality is so high. We've got a side by or like a layered line graph on our monthly marketing report, and it's the number of leads generated every month between all of our different marketing channels, and our direct mail looks like this. It's steady. We get the same number of leads every month. It's very predictable. Our PPC looks more like this. It has a little more highs, but the same lows. On the ROAS side of things, it's the same, like you could layer those two graphs on top of each other and they would be in, and they would be in lockstep. Our ROAS on our direct mail is really steady. It is the consistent, we're going to get the same number of leads or the same number of deals. That's the milk and honey there. The PPC, when we get a lot of leads in a month, we close a ton of leads in a month. Like they go in lockstep. They convert really fast. They convert really high. The cash cycle on your PPC leads is very short. I would say, unless you're going to spend buku bucks, or you're in a really not saturated market, which I don't know if those exist anymore with how popular wholesaling is and how low the barrier to entry is. I mean, I'm in what I would consider to be a rural market. I mean, I'm in Wichita, Kansas. The greater metro population is 500,000. I think that the actual Wichita proper is like 350. So, I mean, compared to, Scottsdale and Austin and California and Denver, I mean, we're small potatoes here. But we're very saturated. There's 25, 30 wholesalers in town in a very small, what I would consider, like I said, to be a rural market. So if you want to build a big business with it and, have overhead and staff and an office and a team and everything, PPC, in my opinion, is going to be something supplemental to something you can build with more, that's just more predictable, like direct mail or cold calling. It's not going to be the huge $30,000 assignment fees. It might be, and every now and then it could be. But I think a lot of guys in every market all over, regardless of size, are scared of PPC because of the stigma that you have to spend so much money, where they can get into direct mail or cold calling for, it's like, I think it's got a lower barrier to entry in people's minds, when in reality, it's the same barrier to entry. And oftentimes I think can actually be a less expensive method to get started. Like if you're just a one-man show and you're trying to get your feet wet and you've done a couple deals, so you've got some cash reserves, the business is, sustaining itself. You're driving for dollars. You are cold calling, you're knocking on doors, you've built relationships with real estate agents that are giving you deals. However, your business, when you're getting it off the ground, you're a solopreneur, maybe it's you and a partner, you don't have a team, you guys are wearing all the hats, you're doing everything. Getting some kind of inbound lead source to supplement what you're already doing is going to fast track your business. And I think a PPC is the first bolt on anybody should do. If they're, they've got a tried and true, they've got something else that's running, that's spitting off cash. And, now they got a little built up in reserves that they want to test out some kind of marketing. First thing you should do is get into PPC.
One of our clients said PPC is the best second marketing channel to do.
Yes, 100%. It's the best bolt-on that you can do. You've got your bread and butter, like you said. For some guys, it's cold calling. For us, it's direct mail. It's not even close. Like direct mail, you take that away, we're shutting the doors. But that's a really great way to say it. It's the best second marketing channel that you need. It's the perfect supplement.
Love that. All right, Lawton, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate your realness and honesty. That's what we try to do here. Great call today, man. Let's keep it up and do another one in a year. Or you can be like our first 5-year case study. We haven't really been around long enough to done that.
Let's do it.
All right, man. I appreciate your time and your wisdom, man. And I love that. Thanks for sharing that check thing. That's super cool.
Of course.
I love that. Thanks, man.